On Mr. Hissner here, and today we're going to be looking at notes on a little bit of a new topic. So we looked at the sides of triangles and did some stuff with that, and so now we're going to move to the inside of the triangle. We're going to be looking at the angles and the relationship between the angles of triangles. And so we're going to be learning a really key theorem here. One of them you know already. It's that triangles add up to 180 degrees. Their angles add up to 180 degrees. And then we're going to learn something called the exterior angle sum theorem, which is a little bit less intuitive. Technical difficulties. All right, here we go. Might be. Okay, so what are we looking at here? Well, this is the triangle triangle sum theorem. This one here. This is what we call the triangle sum. The triangle angle. That's what it is. Triangle angle sum theorem. Theorem. I'll spell it out. Theorem. So the acceptable abbreviation for the word theorem is THM, and you will see me use this in place of the traditional, spelled out. THM is the word theorem in mathematics. So what does this say? Well, it says that when we have three angles in a triangle, what we can do is we can add the three angles together, and their sum is always 180 degrees. And their sum is always 180 degrees. Okay, so again, should be pretty simple and straightforward. This is something that I believe most of us are aware of. It's just something that we just kind of have in the bank already, so to speak. So let's look at the next one. This one is something that we probably have not heard of. This is called the exterior angle theorem. This is also referred to as the EAT. Okay, and so this one, again, a little bit less intuitive. It says an exterior angle is formed by extending this line. So this angle number one is formed by extending that one side. And you can extend any side of the triangle, and you will find that it is true that that angle number one is going to be equal to the sum of the other two angles. So this is going to be equal to the sum of angle 2 and angle 3. So we're going to take this measure of angle 1 is going to be equal to the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3. And how I like to think about this is, I like to think about this as number 1, right? Here's angle number 1, and if it was going to be an alien, it would have, its little antennas up here. And yeah, and so those are its antennas. It's just kind of, off to the side there. So let's look at this sum theorem in action. Here we go. We are told that the measure of angle, we have 24 and 37, and we don't know the measure of angle 1. But what do we know? Well, we know that we can add all of these things together and set them equal to 180. And so what we will find is that what you can really do is you'll see that the measure of angle 1, now watch this, I'm just going to subtract 24 from both sides, and I'm also going to subtract 37 from both sides. So these cancel. And what I'm left with is measure of angle 1 is equal to 180 minus 24 minus 37. And so what am I doing here? Well, I'm just subtracting the two angles that were given from 180 to get the angle we need, right? And algebraically, that's what it looks like. And so we find that 180 minus 24 minus 37 is 119. So again, this is what's happening. We're just taking these values and we're subtracting them from both sides. But essentially, really, what most people are going to do is just take the total and subtract the parts. Find the missing part, right? It's the same idea. This is your total amount of money you have. This is the amount of money in your pockets. You want to know how much money is in your back pocket. So you take your 2 front pocket amount, subtract those from the total, and that's how much is in the back pocket. You're sitting on a wad of cash. Here is the exterior angle sum theorem, right? You just know it has to be because we're extending this bit out, right? And so the idea is that here's your little alien, right? And here's his little alien face. This little alien body. So here is the alien, and okay, so what we know is that the alien is the angle, and it's going to be equal to the sum of the other two. So here's the measure of angle 1 plus 79. And again, all we really have to do is just subtract this value, and we find the measure of angle 1 is equal to 104 minus 79. So that is 25 degrees. Again, just set up the equations. What's the big deal? It's one line. That's all we're doing. That's all I'm doing. I'm setting up this equation. Exterior angle is equal to the sum of the other, is equal to the sum of the adjacent, the non-adjacent. All right, let's look at a better figure. So here we go. What are we going to do here first? Well, let's look. I have several moves. How about that's a linear pair? How about that's a missing angle? So these are the ones I'm going to do, right? Let's do number 1 first. So number 1 would be the measure of number 1 plus 66 plus 84 is equal to 180. And so I'm going to subtract 66, I'm going to subtract 84 from 180, and I find that the measure of angle 1 is 30 degrees. The measure of angle 3, notice this is a linear pair, and so that means the measure of angle 3 plus 84 is equal to 180. So really, I'm just subtracting this 84 from 180, and I find the measure of angle 3 is 96. Okay, so measure of angle 3 is 96. And now I can find the measure of angle 2 because I'm just going to take the measure of angle 2 plus 43 plus 96 is equal to 180 because they're all in this triangle here, right? And it's going to be pretty easy to see that the measure of angle 2 will be 180 minus 43 minus 96, and we find the measure of angle 2 is 41 degrees. And so really, I'm just using all of my angle pairs that I know, right? That's the idea here. That really is the idea here. Let's look at this one, number 6. So number 6, right away, I'm jumped out. Hey, these are vertical angles. What do we know about vertical angles? They're congruent. So this is, angle 2 is, I'll just do a little arrow, 61 degrees. Boom. Alrighty, and now the problem's over, really, because the measure of angle 1 is just going to be equal to 180 minus 68 minus 61. And the measure of angle 3 is going to be 180 minus 61 minus 90. That's a right angle down here. Because all I'm doing is taking the total and subtracting the other two parts to find the missing part. So the measure of angle 1, you get 51 degrees. And the measure of angle 3 is 29 degrees. So hopefully this is, pretty obvious to see. I think also after you see the idea of vertical angles and linear pairs, you kind of get familiar with them and kind of brush up on those their placements. It just becomes really easy to see and frankly pretty obvious. It's just right in front of us basically at all times. So that's what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching.